Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining tonight. It's very nice to have some people here. Now, I'm just going to tell you all, you're allowed to ask questions and talk in between the pieces. I'd actually encourage that. Just as a test, would one of you unmute yourself and just say hello? I just want to make sure I can hear that if that happens.
How you doing, Stephen?
Hello.
Hello. All right, wonderful. Perfect. Good. I can see some of you and hear you. Okay, wonderful. So I will start off with our first piece. I'm going to put on a little slide. One of the benefits of doing a recital on Zoom is that I can share a PowerPoint with you all that has some interesting things on it. Now, the first piece that I'm going to play, it's called Carillon-Sortie by Henri Mulet. He was a French composer. He lived in Paris. And his life story was kind of interesting. I think he had a bit of a temper. So in 1937, after doing some good composing and 15 years at a nice church in Paris, one day he decided to burn all of his music, and he left town, and he spent the last years of his life in poverty and ill health. However, his music is really lovely. So I will start here with the Carillon-Sortie. So.
Bravo, bravo.
Thank you.
Bravo, bravo, bravo. Standing ovation.
Thank you. Oh, and it's so nice to see so many of you here. We've got some more now. Wonderful.
We done.
Hey, Stephen?
Hi, Gary.
Hey, did he base that on a particular carillon? 'Cause
I
know-
don't think so, because the melody is quite complicated.
Okay.
And Gary, I'm glad you're here. I knew you would have good questions.
Well, he wrote at least one more carillon piece.
Right. I think he has another toccata that's in a group of pieces called the Byzantine Sketches, and those are even more famous than this piece. Anyway, so that was the piece I was nervous to play, so I played it first. And also, just if any of you are curious, I've got my laptop here recording this recital through Zoom, and also I have another recording device that I've got out in the middle of the nave, and that one will probably record better sound than this. So tomorrow I'm going to take that sound and this video and merge them together, and then that's what I'm going to put on Facebook and YouTube, if any of you are curious. So the next piece that I'm going to play, I'll share my screen for a moment. Our next piece here is some Bach. This I played last Sunday morning as the prelude to the church service. It's a Bach ornamented chorale on the tune Schmücke, dich, which many of us know in the hymnal as Deck thyself, my soul, with gladness. I know the choir sang this with me a few months ago before Corona happened, and I think it was a favorite chorale of mine and the group's. So how we'll do this piece is Anson's here with me to turn my pages, and he will sing with you all for this hymn. So you keep yourselves on mute, just the way that we do at church, but we'll sing one verse of this hymn, and then I'll go right into the choral prelude that Bach wrote based on this tune. So the tune, the way that Bach played it, it's very ornamented with lots of trills, and the note values are very long, and so it might be a challenge to hear the tune in the piece, but that's why I thought we'd sing the tune first so that you can try and hear it. Okay. Thank you. I love that clapping on Zoom like that. It's fun. Thank you.
I would like to thank Anson for his being there and helping.
Yes, well, thank you. He's wonderful at that. He's my help with a lot of all this technology stuff. I wouldn't be able to do most of it without him. Actually, I see some things in the chat. I assume the score has lines for each of your hands and feet. Actually, yes, it does. And if Anson brings the score back, I can show you. There's three lines of music on most organ scores that go together. One is generally the right hand and the left hand, and then the pedal. So your feet share the bottom line. That's how most organ music is written. That's a good question. Now I saw Kona had come into the call for a minute, and then it looks like she's gone away. But Kona
I'm
was
here.
Oh,
I'm here under Lisa's iPhone, so Kona Lisa is here.
oh, wonderful. Well, Kona, I was just going to ask you if you could. It's nice to see you. If you could give us an update on the prayer that happened today in Lowater that you were leading.
Yes, it was lovely and full of wildlife and outdoor sounds and water. We saw a big male deer. We saw lots of turtles and, of course, squirrels and geese and baby geese. And so we met, we did a devotional. I took the cranes that I've been working on, and after we did a loop through the park, we sat in the grass and opened the cranes and told the stories of the lives of some of the folks that have lost their lives in racial hate crimes or police brutality. So we made it a day of remembrance. And then several people shared Juneteenth scripture and prayer and things of that nature. So it was very meditative. So I did feel compelled to go live. We just held that space and chatted and shared. So it was very lovely and very healing. It was a very healing space to be in, and just know that, you know, we're of the mind that we were keeping the balance while some of the world protests. We're on the other side, keeping balance in prayer and meditation and peacefulness. So that's kind of the space that we held. So thank you for asking.
Okay, and thank you for letting us know. I felt a little bit funny having a concert today. When I picked the date, Juneteenth was not really in my mind at all. And now our church has a group that did the prayer for Juneteenth, and others are protesting today, and so I certainly did not mean for my recital to compete for space with those.
This is lovely to come home to after being out in nature and then listening to your beautiful music. So I think it's an encore to the day. I'm reflecting on the fact that with all of the change that we have in the world, and we do need change, we still have to take time to appreciate life and to appreciate art and to appreciate music, and hold that space, because otherwise we're not civilized, right?
Right.
we can't move forward without creativity. God gave us the idea to recreate and to fill our lives with creativity. So I greatly appreciate your creativity here. You're feeding my spirit and feeding my soul. I'm sitting here drinking tea and just enjoying you.
Oh, that's so sweet of you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
You have a lovely, important skill in our world. So thank you.
Oh, good. Thank you. And I also just want to say a word to those in the congregation who are out protesting and who are going to watch this at some point later. I'm very happy to know that you're doing that important work in support of our African American brothers and sisters on this day of Juneteenth. So I'm happy to be a part of this somehow, and hopefully this music will bring peace and comfort. Our next piece that I'm going to play another Bach piece. Hopefully this will bring some joy. let me just share the screen. I've got a nice big picture of Bach. I think you all know what he looks like, but here is Bach, and I'm going to be playing the Fugue in D major, BWV 532. And some people have asked me before, why does Bach's music always have a BWV and then a number? This is a cataloging system. He wrote over 1,000 pieces of music, and so the musicologists, they cataloged all of his works and gave them numbers, and so most of the organ music is in the 500 category, but there's a little bit, spread out here and there, but anyway, this fugue is D major 532. Put it back to where it's...
Oh, that was just fun.
Well, thank you very much. Yeah, that's a fun piece. And for any of you that were at my audition for St. Bart's, you would have heard me play that then. So I've kind of been practicing that a lot for the last 6 months or however long it's been.
That is some fun footwork.
Yes, it is.
Oh,
It is. I mean, actually, sometimes it's not fun on days. I seem to have good days and bad days when I'm practicing. Some days it kind of all comes together, and other days it does not. I think I'm having a good day, which is nice when it happens on a recital day. Anyway, so that's Bach. I'm going to share my next piece is another piece based on a hymn. So in our hymnal, hymn 35 is Christ Mighty Savior, and there's two musical settings of it in the hymnal. One of them is by David Hurd. He wrote several hymns in the hymnal, the music to them, as well as setting of the service music in our hymnal. He was a professor of church music at General Theological Seminary in New York City. And one of my friends, when I was in college, her dad was also a professor there. And they have like apartments for the professors. And so once upon a time for spring break, I went with my friend and we stayed with her dad. And then in the apartment next door was David Hurd. And so I got to meet him. He was quite friendly. And then we went to the church that he was the music director of at the time, was Church of the Holy Apostles in New York. And they have a beautiful organ, kind of like ours. It's Baroque inspired in a case in the middle of a room. And he is such a good improviser and player. And anyway, so I thought what we would do is we can sing the first two verses of this hymn. And then I'm going to play a meditation that he wrote on the hymn. So he wrote both the hymn and the musical meditation that I'll play afterwards. And again, Anson is going to be our singer here. So let me let him put up the music. Okay, there we go. So here's Christ Mighty Savior by David Hurd.
miss that solo sound.
Lovely.
Yes. Yeah. It's funny. There's another. So there's two tunes in the hymnal that have that same text. That's lovely for an evensong. And I would do it at Compline, but you really need the accompaniment, and we don't use the organ at Compline. So I'll have to wait for when we do an evensong next. We can sing this, but both tunes in the hymnal are so lovely, and so it's kind of nice to use both of them. So it's yeah. Anyway, so there's that one, and it's kind of nice to me that I got to meet that composer. I see another question in the comments here. Was there anything about the Rosales organ that surprised you the most or took the most getting used to? So I'll tell you, the thing that has taken me the most to getting used to is the feel of the keys. It's very different from the organ that I was working on when I was in Toronto for several years. There I had a keyboard that felt very much just like a Casio. Like the keys were plastic and they were very, you'd almost just blow on them and they'd go down. And here it's a little bit more physical work for the fingers to press the keys. And so it takes a little bit more muscle sometimes to press the keys, depending on if I have both keyboards coupled together. That means the stops from both of them can be played on one at the same time. If you do that, then it's quite heavy. And just the shape of the keys, like you can kind of feel in between the keys here a little bit. And so it's taken my fingers a bit of getting used to. So for example, the first piece that I played tonight, it's difficult for me to play that piece on this organ because that's a kind of French Romantic piece. And this organ is better designed for pieces like Bach. Like I love playing Bach and other Baroque composers on this organ, but things that are more romantic or sometimes contemporary can be not impossible, and it's not bad to do them on here. It's just different. So anyway, that's a good question. Now, does anyone else have any other questions about any of the pieces or the organ? Okay, well, in that case, I have one more piece to play for you all tonight. It's a theme and variations on Amazing Grace, and you all, if you were at my audition for St. Bart's, you heard some of it. Let me share the screen here. It's variations on Amazing Grace, and the composer is Denis Bédard. He's a French-Canadian composer, and he's written a lot of really good organ works that are based on hymn tunes. And I think he's a very good composer because his music is satisfying to listen to and also not too hard to learn, which as a musician and a practical person, I think that's the hallmark of genius, if it sounds good and is easy to play. And he's written just so many things on various hymn tunes, and a lot of his music is commissioned by church musicians in Canada and in the US. This piece, the variations on Amazing Grace, was commissioned by a Presbyterian church in Pompano Beach, which I think is in Florida. It's somewhere in the US. Anyway, these are Amazing Grace. There's the first version. You'd be able to sing along if you remember the words to the first verse. And then there's a decorated melody in the right hand. Then there's a pedal variation. Then there's a rhythmic march variation. Then there's something for the swell celeste strings to play. And then there's something that sounds kind of like a little Baroque music box. And then the last one is a toccata. So I hope you enjoy this.
Woo!
Yay!
Thank you all.
Yay.
A really nice night.
Very well done.
That was
Thank
great fun. That
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, and I was going to play that one at the end specifically louder, but apparently mixtures, the very high stops on the organ, don't come across very well on Zoom. So if you know what a mixture is, I took them out of the last toccata because apparently it was causing some distortion earlier when we tried it. Otherwise, it would have sounded even grander. But anyway, I look forward to one day having another recital where you all can come into the building and feel the organ shaking you.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's half the fun of an organ concert is to be able to feel it, which I'm sad that I can't show you that through Zoom. But
Did you test run this before you ran it?
so actually, about an hour ago, Anson and I, well, more than that now, we were trying. We had a whole different configuration, actually, using 2 laptops and a different recording device. And that recording device is able to get better sound than a laptop. However, because it requires 2 computers logged into Zoom separately, what was happening is they were not staying in sync with each other. So even though the sound might have been slightly better if we did it that way, you might be hearing better sound and then seeing something that's a few seconds off, which I think would be rather disorienting. So
It's
what?
like watching an Italian movie that's dubbed.
Yes, exactly, just like that. That's
Oh, no.
yeah. So that's why we decided to do this. So I just took my little recording device and it's on a stand about halfway back in the church. So I'm going to listen to that, and that will probably have better sound than the Zoom recording. And so what I'll be able to do is I'll be able to take the sound from that and mix it into this, what you've just watched. And then when I upload it to Facebook, hopefully it'll have sort of the best of both. Or if I can't figure out how to do that, I'll just put this Zoom recording on there and they'll get to hear what you just heard too. So we'll see.
That sound was a lot better though than what we hear on Sunday mornings.
Oh, okay. That's good to know. That's interesting. Okay.
Apparently whatever you did is working.
Okay. That's good to know. I mean, honestly, when I play the hymns live, this is pretty much what I do. I just set up this same computer. But yeah, Sunday morning, especially this past Sunday, we had so many little audio glitches, and one of them, I will admit, was my fault. I forgot, when you're in Zoom, you have to specifically choose to share the sound of a video that's playing. And the first hymn last week, I forgot to press that button. And then I played the hymn again, and I started to press it, but it was very distorted for some reason. And then the third time was the charm. So anyway, but I mean, it's so nice to be in the church and playing the organ, and I look forward to the day when we can all come back together.
Stephen, you're
Breaking.
breaking a cardinal rule, Stephen. You never let anyone know that a mistake has been made.
I think that one was particularly obvious. The hymn slides start going by and there's no sound, and then I think Bill came running back to the organ. It's like, this is not right. Bill, you could tell what was happening through your headphones, I think.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Bill was also
listening.
getting cues from Virginia and I, and bless his heart, running, I think probably from the front of the church to the back of the church the whole Sunday, right, Bill?
Pretty much. Running around. Yeah, my head cut off. Look, hey, my head's discorporate. Where's the rest?
Oh,
of
I think
me?
I left my head at the back of the church. Oh, wait, maybe my head's at the front of the church. Not sure where I left my head.
Zooks.
It's a tesseract.
It was an adventure.
Yes. Yes.
Time
Well,
to get
thanks
back
for
to the
so
church.
much joy this evening.
Thanks for your good practicing.
Well, good, and thank you all for coming tonight. This has been a fun thing for me to practice for. I've been happy to have this to put together, and it's nice to know that you all were here to see me, and hopefully more people from the church will watch it in the coming days on Facebook or YouTube.
And thanks to Anson for being such a great companion.
I know he is my
That was
word
fantastic.
and singer. He's wonderful.
Here's
So,
John Witt at the last minute.
Well,
And beautiful voice.
so show up, John.
yeah, Anson, come here. They wanna clap for you.
Hey,
He's putting the in a way.
Hey,
And thank you for the choice of material. That was just wonderful.
yeah, very
Yeah.
good. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're so- Thank you, Anson.
Thank you, Anson.
Hey.
Beautiful voice. We appreciate you.
Hey, John.
Hey,
Did you just
John.
come?
Hi, John.
Hi.
Did you just arrive?
We
Get on.
finished, John. But I recorded everything, so you can watch it on Facebook tomorrow when I put it there.
relive those exciting moments.
Well, everybody, thank you for coming. I think I'm gonna call it an evening here, but it was great to see you and make music with you, and I hope you all have a wonderful night.